Hey, it's Cami here. I am here to talk to you about how to add an online course or product to your business to just help you get another line of business. Talk to you about how to add an online course or product to your business to just help you get another line of business. Talk to you about my goodness. Hold on just a second, guys. Online course or product to your business to just help you get another line of business. I'm going to put on some earbuds. That should help. Yes. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. That was crazy. I think I'm on the wrong kind of audio. So just let me get the right audio here. That is why that did that. Hold on, let me get it to the Logitech. Yeah, it's perfect. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. And if you can't, let me know that too. So I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about this. I am going to also go live on Amazon. So one of the things we've been talking about also is how to use Amazon for your business as well. So I want to make sure I'm live there. So let me get started on that. So this past week, I've been really fortunate to go to, what do you call it? I've been able to go to a conference live in person and meet with real people. And one of the things that I got to do was talk about this. They asked me to come talk about my online course and sort of what I've done. So that's been really awesome. And so I'm going to tell you guys about what we did with that. So hopefully you guys have been thinking about doing something like this for your own business. And yeah, so I wanted to go live and just kind of tell you what I did, how I did it, and then maybe you can think about adding something yourself. I've come up with a really easy 3-part way to get your mind around this, because I know that sometimes if you haven't done an online digital product, it seems a little daunting. So that is one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I came here to tell you, is that you can make it simple. You can make it simple and get this going. And that really does help you to get started. So I do not know why, friends, this is not going, but I guess I'll just leave it be. All right, so great. So what I'm going to do is get started. Let me know you're here. Let me know if you are here. Just leave a comment and I will say hi to you. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to share my screen. I have my files actually from, my screens from, since I had a presentation this week. That is what I have here to show you. So hold on just a minute. So interestingly enough, I was actually in San Francisco when the pandemic started. And I was standing by this bridge, by the bay, and a cruise ship came in with a number of passengers on it that had coronavirus. You may remember this. It was like the first group of people that had coronavirus in the United States that they knew about, and they were offshore, and they weren't letting them come in and land. I just happened to be there on vacation when this happened. And me and my family were standing there as this ship came in. Literally, the ship came in of COVID, right? And so as the ship came in, I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, there was something that shifted inside of me. I knew that I was going to have to make some changes. So a lot of what we do in my agency, which is Zoetica, is travel and tourism. So we do a lot of travel and tourism clients. And clearly, seeing this ship and knowing this issue, I knew we were going to have to make some changes inside of our agency in order to survive and thrive and all of those things. So I know you all remember that. But interestingly, that's been, over a year now. That was in March, right? March of 2020. And so as I stood on this shoreline, I knew I needed to make some shifts. We had a huge travel guide that was just about to go out, and a bunch of people had put stuff together. And so I knew I needed to shift. And we did a bunch of things around the travel guide as well. But that was the key, right? Is how do you shift during this time? And I've been thinking a long, long time about having an online course. And this online course was really going to be about how to use social media to bring your brand, to make your brand use social media in a way that you get results. So like, whether that be sales, leads, people, if you're a nonprofit, people giving you money, whatever it is that you do. I work with, all of these different kinds of brands, and we work on a social media strategy that's not just about posting, not just about cool content, but really about how do you take social media and turn it into your business, like make it an engine for your business. And so that's what I wanted to teach. People have been asking me for a long time to do it. I had a bunch of students and people from Social Media Breakfast and other places that had asked me, like, always to pick my brain. They wanted to ask me questions about what we were doing with our clients. We generally work with bigger brands. And so they were just asking us what we were doing. And I kind of put it off. I'll be really honest with you. I just didn't want to necessarily do it. And I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have the time, or I had all these excuses. And mostly what it was is that I just really didn't know how to, productize that. I know how to go out and sell our done for you services. I know how to work with clients. I know all of these things, but having an online course means a lot of students and teaching and that kind of stuff. So I kind of put it off. And as I was standing on the shore there in San Francisco, I thought to myself, I need to launch this course. And I'd been working on it for a while, and I had even a launch date in mind, which was probably in June. And I thought, no, I need to move that launch date up to as quick as possible. So I was thinking, people were going to be, suffering with their businesses. They were going to need ideas. And I knew that what I had put together was something that would help them. And so I just knew that I needed to help others in this potential situation. So I was thinking about a new revenue maker for my business for sure. But the honest truth is I didn't even care if I didn't make that much revenue. I just wanted to get it out there and help people and businesses to get those results for their brand and for their companies. So I did that. We launched that with my team. And as I went through the whole process, I realized that I really had it kind of narrowed down to this 3-part process. And because I decided to move it up, so I launched this really at the end of March, early April. So like as soon as I got back from vacation, I absolutely 100% went out and launched this. And I knew I couldn't do like this really long launch with like 8 weeks of content. And I just didn't have the time. I could do it, but I felt like people needed it now, right? So how do you quickly do that? And I came up with this 3-part process. So I was hoping that I could share with you today, as I just did with the conference that I just came back from. So here it is. The 3-part process is to prepare, to test, and to launch. And I'm going to go through each of these pieces for you really quickly during this time we have together. And then you can ask me any questions you have, whether you're listening to this live or in replay. Please just put your questions in the comments, and I will absolutely 100% answer any questions you have. So number 1 was really about preparing. So let me talk about that first. So inside of prepare, there was like 3 steps that we kind of went through. First one was to really define our ideal client. I did not spend a whole lot of time on this because I launched it quickly. So I launched it to my existing list. So I've been, doing, this for a long time, but I didn't have like a lot of people that were there to buy from me about this specific topic, right? So you can take that or leave that. I think you can go from having no list at all, to be honest, and just coming out and starting to have content like I'm doing right now. So, you start talking to people and you give them a way to interact with you. So you define your ideal client, and that ideal client should be somebody that has the problem you can solve, right? So as you go along in this journey of online digital products, that is going to get more narrow. But when you first start, it's great if you can narrow it down, but if you can't quite get all the way to completely narrow and in the beginning, I don't think you should sweat it too much. I think a lot of gurus and stuff, they say, you have to really, really niche down. And I do believe that it works. It works really well. And as you do start to niche down, you do a lot better. But for the first time out, what you really want to do is gather information. So what you're going to do is teach, but at the same time, you are learning about what people actually want. Because what you think they want and what they actually want is often quite different. That is the truth. And so you want to define your ideal client so that you can go out and start talking to them in your messaging, like on social media, like coming out and doing a live stream and talking to them. This will work really well, obviously, for people who are in agencies, consultants, business consultants. What I'm talking about today, that is who I am, and because that's how I launched this. This is probably going to work best for you. But I've had other people, many other niches have done this. So I've been in other classes and courses where I've seen people that have they sell everything. I was just talking to somebody today who sells little sheets for kindergartners, printables and stuff. And she has a whole online digital business around that. So you can have this around almost anything. But I just wanted to tell you, because I am an agency and I am a consultant, I'm coming from that point of view, if that makes sense. So you want to define your ideal client. Often it's somebody that's you, but like maybe five years back, somebody who can learn from you. You're going to research the problems that they have. So here is the big one, is where you need to talk to people. So that's the thing about social media that I think is really kind of a funny thing, is that people don't end up talking to people enough in what you do. I'm going to come in live and I'm just going to talk to you about this because here's the thing. We think that, online has to be all online. And here's the secret. The secret is that being successful online actually means you have to talk to people live. Like you have to actually speak to them, like on a Zoom call or in person, where you ask them, what they're struggling with in the area of your expertise. Now, you may not ask them exactly that. You may just listen. I just went to a conference and I listened very intently to the people at that conference and what their problems are right now, because some of them are ideal clients for me and my next step in my business, right? And so you want to listen to what they're saying. And some of the best ways to do that is to jump on the phone with an existing client, or perhaps somebody that you think would be a good client. And instead of selling them something, listen to them and ask them questions. Like, what are you working on? Very stuff like that. It's like a normal conversation. Like, you don't have to have a big agenda. It's like, what are you working on? And they'll tell you what they're working on and say, oh, wow. How are you having an easy time getting that done, or a hard time? Or what are you struggling with? And just listen to them, because what they're going to say to you can actually create your program for you, your digital program or your digital tool. So this particular thing I'm doing right now, this how to create an online course for your business, for your agency, or for your consultancy. This is something that I didn't really think about teaching. But people keep asking me, well, how are you doing it? What are you doing? And then I put in a thing for the conference I just went to, which is for agency owners. And I put this in as a possible speaking thing. And that was a theme. It was a theme at this conference. And so I saw, oh, everybody wants to have a digital product. And that is why it was, important to them. So you want to think about how you do that. Like, what is your client or your ideal client going to want? And the only way you really, really know that is talking to them. You may have really great ideas, but you don't really know until you talk to them. So I'm just going to warn you of that right there, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't do very well. So you're going to research the problem, and then you're going to help them out, or you're going to help them by outlining your unique process. So one of the things in my business that I always prided myself on was I'm very good at putting together what I call bespoke or custom packages, right? So we have bigger clients, so that's part of the reasons why we do that. But when I sit down with a client, I want to hear their problems, and I sometimes would create an entire construct around that. But I was sitting down with one of my clients once, and they said, but what is your process? And I thought, I didn't really even think like that. I didn't think in processes. Some people are process thinkers and some people are creative thinkers. I'm probably a little bit more on the creative side. And so I was like, oh, and it really made me think, what is my process? And I sat down actually with and I wish I had them right here, but here. So I sat down with a bunch of sticky notes. And on each sticky note, I started to write my process. And what I did is I just did steps. So I'm like, step 1, when I sit down with a client, what do I do? And I wrote it on the sticky note. Step 2, what do I do? And then I wrote that on the sticky note. And by the time I was done, I had probably about 25 sticky notes. So it's a very big process. You don't sell a process like that. So I set them out on the floor and started to organize them. So, steps 1 through 4 became my first bucket. Steps 4 through 8 became my second part of my process. And as the time went on, I started to realize I do have a process. And then I did some really fun things around the marketing. I turned it into the 4 C's. It's a 4C process. And it's something I know I've been using with my corporate clients for years. And I can teach that then to people that aren't corporate, so you can have the same results as, say, one of my corporate clients using this kind of a process. So that was my goal in doing that. And as I outlined that unique process, and I'm just going to skip some of this because I don't want to take as much time as we did, I ended up with this. And so this became my unique process that I did. So I'm going to make this real big so you can see it. And here's what that looks like. So number one is clarity. And that's always true for me. I always start with strategy. It's just, you really must start with strategy. That's my opinion when you're doing social media. I think a lot of people start with tactical things like, hey, I need to really get a Reels idea. Like I need to get some Reels ideas. I need to get out there and do this or that or whatever, TikTok, whatever the latest thing is. People just focus on that. But what you really need to focus on first, before you focus on those tactics, which are important, we'll get to them in a minute, you must focus on your strategy overall. And so I looked at this on the right-hand side there. It says problem. Social media is an afterthought with no strategy. A lot of times people come to me, especially businesses, and say, I need a social media strategy. And we do write those strategies for them, whether they're then take them off and do them themselves. They do that often. We'll write them for them, including some content starters. And we are very clear. But the first thing we do is we go deep on their ideal customer, client, or what I like to call their community member. So I like people to build communities around their brands. And so that's what clarity is all about. So that was the first one. And the result was a strategy playbook complete with clear pathway to a result. That's what you get from the course. You get this strategy playbook. You have a clear pathway to the result that you want. That's number one part of the course. Number two is the problem of connecting. And that's the next question I get a lot is people say to me, hey, Cami, how can we find our ideal client online? Where do we find them? How do we find them? How do we use them? What do we do? And so for me, that was the second part of my process is I teach them then how to connect with their client online, how to find them, how to talk to them, how to manage like growing that kind of a community. And so that's the second part of the course is that. And so the problem is they can't find customers, they can't get attention, they feel like they're speaking into a void and nobody's listening and nobody's coming back to them. So this is what we did. We would teach in the course. We would teach a system to bring in fresh leads daily, or bring in fresh new people into their list, grow an email list, all that kind of stuff. So the idea is, how do you get connected with people online? And it's not always about being super popular or your content going viral or anything like that. In fact, it's usually not. Usually it's about really growing real relationships with real people over time through your brand. And then the third part of the process was create. And create is where people always want to start, right? And that's creating the content. Like people want to have that great content that attracts the ideal client. And they often will try to start with that there. So I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're doing social media is that they try to do their content before they have a strategy or they have a connection plan. Excuse me. And so creating the content that attracts ideal clients is definitely important. So this is where the problem is. I can't cut through the noise. Our content doesn't get much engagement. I'm worried about that. I hear this from clients all the time whenever we're in the sales process. And so the result of this particular module was to teach systems to create that strategic content that gets noticed. So all of the content that we teach our students and our clients how to do, whether we're doing it for them or we're teaching them how to do it, is how to take the clarity and connect and put it with the results, right? And then finally, the problem of the last part is what I call the calibrate stage, which is that you're not sure you're getting any ROI in your social media. Like, why am I doing this? What's the ROI of it? and it's not feeling like it's working. And so we talk about building a funnel, and I know funnels are overhyped. Everybody has a funnel, just so you know, whether you know you have one or not, you do. Because if you have people buying stuff from you, you have some kind of funnel. It doesn't have to be an online funnel. It can be an offline funnel, but you do. And so it may be not very effective, but you have one. So we talk about that. We talk about how you get people from point A to point B the quickest way possible to work with you and make it easy to work with you. And so we talk about how you can use social media along that pathway, in addition with email, websites, all the other things that go with that. So that is the process that we came up with. And you have a process too. So, I just told you my process. But whatever you do, I don't know what your specialty is. I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments what you do, what you specialize in. That would be great to hear. But the thing is, you probably have a really great framework that you can teach. And that becomes really important when you're putting together digital products, because people want frameworks. They want to be able to see how they can apply it to their business. And so you can see how maybe my social media, construct would apply to your business. In the same way, you have something that people can see how it applies to their life or their business or whatever you're doing, right? And so that was the step that you would take there. So that being said, I'm going to move to step number 2 in this process. So we just started with step number 1, and now we are going to go to step number 2. Let me share my screen with you. Hold on, it's being very slow to come. So, you now prepared the way, you know who you're serving, you know what you're going to do, you have a process that you're going to share with them, and now you want to test. And so this is testing. You want to choose a product type. Maybe it's in one of those areas of your framework that you came up with. You want to pilot, launch, and pre-sell it, and then you want to deliver your product. So I'm going to run through each one of these quickly to kind of give you an idea of how you'll take this. So you've prepared, and now you're going to test. You are going to have to choose that product type, and that's, maybe difficult, but I would just say pick something. So if you've talked to people and you know what their biggest problem is, I'd start there. You can start with something mini. I started with this big course. You do not have to do that. You can start with one thing that maybe helps them. Like it could even be your downloadable free thing to get people onto your list. You could start with that. So you want to maybe put together that one thing that will get them a result. So the key is whatever you pick needs to be something that will get them a result quickly. And if you can do that, in some ways, it's better to create a small thing first, because if you can get them a really great result in a small thing, then you can come back and say, hey, we did this really small thing. Our cheat sheet for how to get 1,000 followers, so we have our 2x2, which is how to build your 1,000 followers on social media. And we have a plan for how you can do that. That's one of our freebies. That's called the 2x2. And it's like, how do you go daily and connect with people? So it's in that connect bucket, right? So that was really, really powerful. And it's grown our list. I mean, we've grown our list by about 2,000 people that way with that particular thing. And so you want to choose your product type that's something that's got a result they can get pretty quick. And then you want to pilot that and launch it. So here's the thing. If you're going to build something that costs money, and you can do that with a smaller product too. So like say a $97 mastermind workshop, where when you come, you're going to leave with this thing. Maybe it's just a piece of the pie, not the whole pie, right? Like, so just a piece of what you do. They're going to come, they're going to get a strategy for their brand. It's going to be a $97 thing. We're going to do it for 4 hours, and you're going to come in the beginning, and at the end of it, you're going to have a complete plan for your brand and social media. That's just one idea for our brand, for example, if I wanted to do that. And if I felt like there was a huge enough, big enough interest in that. And then you just pilot that. You go out, you talk to people about it, you post about it, you run ads against it, you send it out to your email, and you see what the response is. See if people come, see if people buy, see if people want it. And you can start for a lower price too, like a $27 product. is very common. You see it all the time on social media, these things that pop up and say, hey, you can get this for $57 or $27, whatever it is you do, even if you don't really make much money off of it. Maybe you just pay for your Facebook ads or whatever with it. At the end of the day, if you have something that gets people a result, you can also get testimonials. And those testimonials then can be used to build your next thing. The other thing I'm going to say is that it's better to do something very simple that doesn't take a lot of time so that you can get the momentum going. You can grow your list, especially if you have no list. A small, quick product might be best just to start growing your list. It will grow it by a lot when you do that. And so that pilot, launch, and pre-sale is really important. And even more important is not to build an entire course or entire thing without input from your audience. It's almost better, honestly, to not do that. So I actually built the whole course ahead of time with, because we'd given it to a couple of agencies as a one-on-one product. And so I took that product and turned it into a product for more people. And honestly, I might have, if I had to go back and do it again, I might have taught it live more, because then you can just record it and it doesn't take as much prep work. But that's what we chose to do. So I often tell people not to do that, like just to come and teach. So like, say you're going to do 4 modules, say this week I'm going to do a live teaching in the Facebook group or on a Zoom or whatever, and then record it while you're doing that live teaching, and then come back and do the next week the same and record it. And yes, make your slides and do what I'm doing right now. For example, I'm using StreamYard, for example, but you can use Zoom or whatever, and record it. And then guess what? People will give you feedback about what worked, what didn't. And then, hey, if they loved that particular time that you gave that presentation about that specific thing, you can just keep that recording and use it the next time. In fact, I've seen people do this, and I think it's a great idea too. Have it, playing on Evergreen, for that price. So there's a lot that you can do there for your pilot and pre-sale, but the key is to not spend like 2 years building it and then launch it and find out that nobody wanted it. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense to everybody. So let me know if that makes sense to you. So yeah, so you're going to pilot and pre-sell, and then you're going to deliver that product, so you want to deliver the heck out of the product. You want to over deliver in many ways, because the first time you go out with a digital product, the key is to get those stories and testimonials, because that's your social proof. That's why people will come back and buy from you again. So yeah, you do have to have the chops, right? So you do have to have something you're great at, and you do have to teach it. And I suspect most of you have something like that, especially if you have a business like I do, and you specialize in something like I do. You have something to sell that can be packaged into a smaller sort of bite-sized package on the internet. And then guess what? If people want more from you, they may come and, use your service as a client. So this can also be an on-ramp or an onboarding for your current business. So you have to think about what is the right product for that. So keep it in the same, universe as what you're doing now, unless you want to quit what you're doing now and do something different, which is great. I mean, somebody out there might be an amazing guitarist and wants to do that instead, teach people how to play guitar. Hey, no judgment, but I'm just saying, think about what you're trying to do start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. That's a Covey thing. So yeah, that being said, this is the test. And again, here's some course types that you can think about. A single skill mini course, like designed to solve one problem and get them ready for your next offer. Do a workshop, 1 or 2 day intensive workshop. That is, you come get something done during that time, not just teaching like, heads. And then signature courses designed to take them all the way from A to Z. That is like my signature Smart Social Secrets. The course I showed you is my signature course. And you can check out, there's a wait list right now for it, but it's at smartsocialsecrets.com. If you want to check out that page and kind of see what I have on there right now. And then membership is year round. So like if you want to, have a group of people that you're helping over time, and helping them grow over time. What I found in the signature course is I loved it, but it came to an end, right? And so, a lot of the people were like, hey, what's next? I mean, what are we going to do next? And that is a good question. So you may find that your students ask for stuff like that. So, be ready. So I have a decision tree, but I'm not going to go over that because it's kind of complicated for the internet. Um, and yeah, so you just want to launch your pilot. And I call it a pilot or a beta or whatever. The first time you do this, it's best to think of it like that, because it really is a good way for you to give yourself some grace and people to give you some grace, because you're trying something new and you are asking them to help you out, and they like to co-create it with you in many ways. Your students are going to be co-creating this with you in many ways. And so, you want to float your idea out there. Ask your audience, hey, I'm thinking about starting a membership for agency and consultants that help them to get things done on a monthly basis and to get their agencies out there and seen, because we often work on our clients' stuff, but we never work on our own. That's something I'm working on right now. And then you want to post it out there. You want to talk about it. You want to let people know it's coming so that they know when it comes, they're not like, oh, what is this? I've never heard of it. And then you can email it out to people one-on-one. You don't even have to have an email list. Like, say you have a client and you're like, hey, I would love to talk to you about this. What do you think about something like this? And just floating it by them, maybe a friend, anybody in that area of the perfect client area. So think about how to talk to people directly. Again, I talked about that earlier, email or phone. And you just want to keep it really minimalistic. If you have a payment page, that's one of the hardest things for me is that I don't take credit cards in my agency. So like, how am I going to do that? So I got a Stripe account and I have a PayPal account, and I got something called Thrive Cart, and I'm starting to take payments that way. So yeah, it's been really interesting to do that. And then you want to deliver and tweak the product. So after you deliver it, you're going to get a lot of feedback, and you're going to see where people were kind of confused, lost. Maybe they didn't do as well as you thought they would, or didn't understand. Because you have the curse of knowledge, that means that you have a lot of knowledge that you don't even realize that you have. So your students, you're going to say, well, that's easy. That's something that's sort of intuitive. But whatever is intuitive to you is often your superpower, right? That could be your superpower, is what's intuitive to you. And other people are like, wow, I don't know how you do that. How do you do that? And so you'll see that happens. And when you start working with people like one-on-one, and also in this way, you're going to see that. You're going to see that when they're confused. You're going to see when they stop working as much. And you're going to be like, okay, how do I diagnose this and make the changes necessary, right? To make your product the best it can be. So that's how it goes. And I talked about testimonials, really, really important. Here's a couple from our course that we grabbed. So one is from Brian Cohen, which hopefully he'll watch this. And the other one is from Diane Mulligan. These are agency owners that talked about how this worked for them. So you're going to want to grab those testimonials. And how I got those is as soon as it was over, I asked them to come talk to me on a Zoom call, and I would talk to them about one strategic thing in their company that they were still kind of struggling with for half an hour. And then if they'd give me just 10 minutes for a testimonial. So that was one way for us to get it. They got something out of it. I did too. So it was good. You want to think about that. How are you going to get your testimonials? All right. So the third part of this, we've prepared and then we've planned, and then we've tested, and now we're going to launch. And what I'm saying by that is that you think, oh my gosh, I've already launched, because you already talked about, you did this beta. And no, my friend, that is not a launch. That is a test, and that is good. And you may make a lot of money on that test. Or you may make no money on that test. So you need to give yourself some time to test something so that you can then launch it to a bigger audience. And that's the third step. So once you've gone through this whole process, you're going to truly launch it into your business. And that's like another level, right? So you're going to have to build your visibility. That's going to be critical. And you can do it through, you have to do content, some kind of content. You can't just share other people's content. You have to become a go-to leader in this area. You can do live stream video like I'm doing right here. You can do blog posts. By the way, I take these and turn them into blog posts, so that's another way to go. You can do any kind of content, like you can do a podcast, for example. So whatever it is that works for your schedule and your life and the cadence that works for you. So I try to do live stream every Thursday or most Thursdays. There's a couple I can't do because of work commitments, but I do every Thursday about 9, between 9 and 12. So depending on what the week is. So you want to think about how you're going to build that visibility. And even if nobody shows up to your live stream, that's fine, because I'll take this live stream and I'll cut it into pieces. I'll be sharing it across social media. I will put it into an email. I will do a bunch of things with it. So you do not necessarily need to be like, I think people forget that the results you get on social media, like directly, don't necessarily correlate to the results you'll get over time. I might even run a Facebook ad against something like this, or a version of it. So you want to build your visibility, and then you want to leverage your pilot project to go from there. And then you want to repeat the process. So let me kind of go through each one of these quickly. So your ways to build your audience are, again, free content, video, blog posts, articles. Networking is really, really important as well. Events, outreach, to the 2x2 I told you about, some sort of freebie downloadable that people can get from you. Events are great too. If we ever get in live events, that's great. But there's a lot of online events that you can go to networking. I go to the Global Tea Break every month. That's an amazing group that meets, and there are business owners from all across the world that meet on that Friday. You can DM me about it if you're interested. I do social media breakfast. I actually lead that here in Houston, but it's now, everywhere because it's online. And so we have one new speaker every month to talk about a social media topic. Last month we had Scott and Jim, and they came and they talked about how to use Amazon Live. So, we have some really great speakers. So it's a community of people. So you want to think about, where can you find these kinds of events that are ongoing? They happen, episodically, so that you can actually get to know the people there. And then you have those connections. Speaking is really good. Webinars, conferences, local and professional development places. Speaking on other people's platforms is really, really powerful. I do a ton of that. And it's a great way for you to add value to them, and them to, get you in front of their audience. And so that's really good. And then finally, a gated content thing where you get them a result, some kind of thing where they have to either give you an email or they pay a nominal fee, and you give them a piece of content or a strategy that absolutely changes things for them. So you want it something that shifts them pretty quickly. It doesn't have to be like, ground shaking shift, but where they actually see a result pretty quickly. So that's some of the ideas for how to build your visibility. And then here's ours. This is the I'll just give you the link if you're interested. This is the 2x2 I've been talking about the whole time. It's bit.ly/GROW2X2. Grow is all capitalized. GROW 2x2 or 2x2. And this is a really cool 5-day email sequence that teaches you how to build your online community quickly. And it works. Like, I will tell you, if you really devote yourself to doing this about, like every single day of the week, except for weekends even, you will absolutely see amazing results. And I've had people come over and over to me and say, I didn't really believe it, but I did it. And wow, I've had a lot of really good results from this. So definitely check that out. And that is basically a mini course in an email sequence. So there's no, there was not a lot of effort. It was an effort for me to share what it was, but not an effort to set up all the tech and all that crazy stuff, right? So yeah, I would love you to get your hands on that. And then Smart Social Secrets, leverage your pilot. That's what we did. We took the materials, feedback, and testimonials we received to hone our message for our next launch. And I've been working on that recently, like going back through all the materials, like really looking at everything and deciding what's next for us, for our digital course stuff. And the real key is that the launch isn't the end. You have to keep repeating the process to get better. And I think a lot of people launch one thing and it doesn't do too well. Like, maybe 5 people join, or 4, 3, or 2, or 12, or whatever. And then they're like, oh, I'm terrible at this. I'm just not going to do it again. And I think it's a mistake, because every time you launch it, you understand your audience better. You understand your product better. Your product gets better. Everything gets better with repetition. It's just like practice. My son is learning how to play the cello. I play the violin, but he's learning how to play the cello. And when you first start playing a stringed instrument, I don't know about you, have you ever played a stringed instrument or heard somebody that's a beginner string instrument player? It's pretty awful. It sounds awful. It feels like hard. It doesn't feel like you'll ever be any good at it. And the truth is the only way to get better is just to keep playing and playing and playing. And then guess what happens? Then you start to have those moments where, oh my gosh, people are like, that was beautiful. But it takes that kind of time. It takes that kind of effort. And this is the same thing with launching an online product. And, I felt the same way with Smart Social Secrets. We did very well. We had some great classes. People loved it. But they weren't as big as I would have wanted them. I'll be really honest. I would have liked to see them larger. And as I talked to people, I realized that, in the first 3 part of the modules, they were really excited. But by the time they got to measurement, it was a little bit like it was complicated. It was hard for them. And, I had a lot of people from a lot of different verticals in that class. Like there was people all the way from like a carpet cleaners, all the way to somebody who runs a bus, to a real estate agent, to agency owners. And so I do think it can help them. And I've been working on simplifying the content a little bit more. And so when we relaunch it as an evergreen product, it's going to have those things baked in that I learned from the first students, and that's going to make the course just so much better. So I just feel like, you don't want to be disappointed by, what people say. So the other thing I was going to share with you, it's kind of where we're going next. I am going to be launching a online course, an online membership called Smart Social Mastery membership. And that's really for people who have a agency or a business consultancy. They are really the people that help others get seen. So if you help others get seen in your business, this is for you, because we're going to help you to be seen, because I think we don't take time for that. And really on the own, we're going to be talking about, this is the success path, which I'm not going to go over in too much detail because this is not meant to be like a pitch thing, but I'm just telling you that even I have come up with a new thought about where we need to go next. We're going to, come back to the beginning and focus on who is my ideal client. Well, I can definitely help agency owners and consultants to get their businesses going, right? That is absolutely something I can do. I've done it myself. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been through a few things. I know how to do it. And one of the things I know is a big problem for agency owners and consultants is that they don't actually promote themselves very well. They promote their clients, they work on their client stuff, and then they take the thing that they want to do for themselves and they keep moving it down the line. So we're going to work on that. We're going to work on keeping that going. So if you're interested in something like that, you're one of those people, let me know in the DMs, because this is not about that, but I will definitely be happy to walk you through this in real life. But the idea is, as you go and you launch things, you see what people's needs actually are from you. And that's where you get that, right? So that being said, I did have a slide here with tech stuff that I'm going to, oh, here we go. I will go back to the tech slide in a minute. But first, I'm going to say that is the 3-part process. You're going to prepare. You're going to test by doing a beta, just like a mini launch. And then you're going to do a big launch. And then you do it again. You're going to prepare, test, launch, prepare, test, launch. And like any other product, this becomes your it becomes part of your business, right? And it can help people, it can help onboard people into your business or into your organization. So there's a really lot of great ways that you can use this. And by the way, your launch can be an event. It can be, I mean, we've been talking about what these things are you can deliver. It can be a lot of different things. And even a nonprofit, honestly, could use this because they often don't think about like this in this way. And I feel like that's part of the reason why they don't do so well, because they're asking for money, but they're not helping people see how they are connected to that money, how they are connected to making that change. And that's, you can do that with this particular process as well. So yeah, that is all on the on how to do this. So I'm really excited. Would love to talk to you about this. You can get a copy of the course, copy of this presentation by like taking a picture of this cool little QR code. It actually is hooked up to a bot that I programmed myself. I'm so excited about that. Or you can just go to the bit.ly/Cami course and get a copy of this presentation. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. I would love to answer questions. And even if it's not live here, you can DM me anywhere. You can reach out to me. I had my email on the last slide. And this is going to be in replay and all the places that you are right now. So I really enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed, by the way, being able to go to an actual live event. It was so great. And, share this with people live and in person. And it was a really a cool opportunity. But definitely let me know if you were here and let me know if this helps you in any way. Thanks so much. And I will talk to you soon.